Hi, I'm Hazel. A new age of WoW leveling is almost here, so today I've got a brand new video sponsored by Wowhead bringing you a dozen tips to help you while leveling 110 to 120 in Battle for Azeroth. The first thing to consider is going to be your zone order. So there are 3 zones for your faction, and then an additional 3 zones for the opposite faction that you'll level as you go through the war campaign. All of them will need to be done eventually if you want to unlock flying one day and get your rep, so it's not that big of a deal what order you go in because you're going to want to do it all at some point. However, there are a couple things to think about. If you are coming into BfA leveling with raid gear and set bonuses and best in slot legendaries, then you want to do the tougher zones first while you still have access to all of those bonuses. Tougher in this case just means more mob density in questing areas and less forgiving scaling. For Alliance, based on what we know from beta, that means starting in Drustvar and then going to Tierguard Sound and then Stormsong Valley last, while for Horde that means starting in Vol'dun and then going through Zuldazar and finishing off in Nazmir. On the flip side of that, if you're coming into leveling with no raid gear and no set bonuses and maybe just the catch-up gear you got from Darkshore, and perhaps you don't have the best legendaries and you just have some legendaries or maybe even only one, in that case you want to target those easier zones first and then tackle the harder areas later on once you've built up some Azerite gear and some Heart of Azeroth power. That just means flipping the order, so for Alliance that means starting in Stormsong, then Tierguard, then Drustvar, and then for Horde starting in Nazmir, moving through Zuldazar, and finishing off in Vol'dun. Again, you're going to want to do everything eventually anyways, and the difference in difficulty between these zones is not that big of a deal, so if one area looks cool to you and you want to start there, then start there and don't let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong because it's not that big of a deal. Number 2, don't get held up on problematic quests. I'm not going to point any fingers at specific quests because old bugs can be fixed, and I'm sure some new bugs will be uncovered when all of this content goes live, but if you're doing a quest and you are getting frustrated and you are dying and you are just not making progress, just walk away. There's probably something else that you can do. The questing is set up in BfA zones to be less linear than it has been in past expansions such as Warlords and a lot more hub-based, so you can just give up and go somewhere else and probably find something better to do and then come back to it later once maybe you have more gear, or you have more time, or you just have more patience. And of course, the other thing to check out when you're stuck is going to be the Wowhead page for that quest. Just look up the quest by name on Wowhead and then scroll down to the comments, and there's almost certainly some kind soul that figured it out and then put some really helpful advice on how to do it. And if you were struggling and you did figure it out, be that kind soul. Be the hero that we all need and share. Tip number 3, if you're not super attached to your professions, consider taking herbalism and or mining, and then as you level in BfA, just pick every node that you see because you get a little hit of experience every time you gather one, and for herbalism especially, there are a ton of gathering nodes out in Kulturas and Zandalar. You'll get extra experience and level faster while you're already out in the world questing, which is delightfully efficient, and especially early in the expansion, you can usually sell that stuff for some good gold. Tip number 4, don't vendor quest reward gear. Don't do it. You will regret it, you will be sad later, and you will cry. Instead, hang on to it, and then whenever your bags start to feel uncomfortably full, just head back to Boralus for Alliance or Dazara Lore for Horde. Stop by the scrapper, pop your gear in, scrap it, and it will spit out trade mats. You can craft with those. You can sell those. You can sell those for more than you would have vendored the gear for. Don't vendor your gear. There is a scrapper. You don't need to have any professions to use it. It's not an Obliterum Forge. It's kind of like the Obliterum Forge, except that this one is useful. Tip 5, pick Azerite armor traits that are good for leveling. As you level, you're going to get pieces of Azerite armor, and the decision as to which traits to pick can feel like a big deal, and I'm here to tell you that it's not. You will get better Azerite armor fairly early on at level 120, so as you get Azerite armor while leveling, pick stuff that's going to help you level. If you're out there questing and you're dying a whole bunch, then pick stuff that is going to help you not die. If you're out there questing and can't kill anything, pick something that's going to help you kill stuff. If you're out there leveling and you keep going back and forth between tanking or healing for dungeon queues and DPSing for leveling, then pick traits that are good for both of those things and not traits that are spec specific. You're going to replace this stuff at 120 anyways, and even if you don't, you can respec it, so pick the traits that are good for leveling. Number 6, a tip for the PvP inclined, or for the brave, if you quest in war mode, you're going to get 10% more experience. If you really want to take advantage of that and you don't really want to risk getting into too much world PvP, something that you could do is do a bunch of quests and get them ready to turn in while not in war mode. Go back to Stormwind or Orgrimmar and turn on war mode, and then go turn them all in. That will add a bunch of travel time to your life, and you're also going to be limited by the quest log cap, so don't feel like you have to do it, but if you feel like you want to, then go for it. I will say, if you're going to be leveling in war mode and you're kind of iffy on it, consider turning war mode off before you go off doing the war campaign that sends you out into enemy faction zones. You are much more likely to encounter enemy faction players while you're over there in their stuff. Remember that you can toggle war mode on or off anytime that you like, but you must be in Stormwind or Orgrimmar to do that. You cannot do it in Boralus or Dazar, Tar, Dalar, Azor, Alar, Dazar, Alor. Can't do it there. Has to be in Stormwind or Orgrimmar. Number 7, speaking of the war campaign, that's something that I'm personally going to be trying to keep up with as I level. The war campaign is kind of our storyline questing campaign of BfA, and the early legs of it will take place in the enemy faction zones and unlock a whole bunch of stuff, including transport to those zones for world quests later on. It'll give you rep, you're going to need it done for flying one day, it unlocks stuff like war fronts and island expeditions and your mission table, and you're going to need to do it eventually for a whole ton of stuff. So personally, I'm going to be doing it while I also get experience from those quests. Not everybody is choosing to go that route. Because of the travel time involved in those quest lines, you will probably level faster if you ignore them and then go back and do them later at 120, but you're going to have to do it eventually anyways, so in my opinion, you may as well. Number 8, as you level, you're going to encounter rare mobs and treasure chests everywhere. Don't bother. They're not really worth your time. They're really not worth your time, especially while leveling. Going out of your way to kill those things can really slow you down, it can cause you to unexpectedly die, and it can cause you to end up in places that you don't really know how to get back from. And the experience is terrible. On top of that, many of those rare mobs will drop gear that scales with you as you level, and you don't really need it as you're leveling. You're going to get plenty of gear from quests, but at 120 there may very well be a stubborn gear slot that you're just having the hardest time replacing, and you could really use gear from one of those rare mobs to fill in that slot. So don't worry about rare mobs, don't worry about treasure chests, come back and get them later. You don't need to worry about them while you're leveling. Number 9, in BfA, there is an experience gem. Right off the bat, jewel crafters will be able to craft an Insightful Rubellite, which grants you 5% experience. This gem is unique equipped, so you cannot equip more than one of them within one piece of gear, but on beta, the experience bonus was stacking when socketed into different pieces of gear. Each one gives you 5% extra experience, so that can add up really quickly. I wouldn't be surprised to see a fix, and maybe they've already done this, where you can only benefit from one of those at a time, but even so, it's worth getting one of those and finding a piece of gear to stick it into, and then continuing to wear that piece of gear while you level, even if you could upgrade it to something better, just so you can keep getting that extra 5% experience. Also, if you have jewel crafting and you like making gold, I would look into it. Number 10, don't forget your guild banner. Throw down one of these bad boys for an extra 15% mob killing experience within a 100-yard radius for 15 minutes on a 10-minute cooldown. In BfA, a lot of the questing areas are fairly isolated, with a lot of killing that you can do to work towards your quest within a 100-yard range, so you can probably take advantage of that pretty often. Also, if you're leveling with other members of your guild, you guys can work together to cover a wider range of area with that bonus, or stagger them out so that you drop one for one questing area, and then once you guys move on, they drop the next one. They don't stack, but they do benefit all guild members within 100 yards, so you can get creative. I recommend dragging it to your bar for easy cooldown management and deployment, and if you don't have one yet, here is where you buy them. The Alliance Guild vendor is here in Stormwind, and the Horde Guild vendor is here in Orgrimmar. In order to buy those, you will need to be at least friendly reputation with your guild, and your guild needs to have completed the A Daily Routine guild achievement, which, as long as your guild is not that new, probably has already happened. Tip 11, you will need at least friendly reputation with each of the 3 leveling zone factions in order to unlock world quests at 120, so prioritize that while you're leveling. If you're doing every quest you come across in a zone and also getting other experience from places like dungeons or herbalism or archaeology or whatever, you very well may not actually need to do the 3rd zone, and if you never touch the reputation from there, then you're going to need it at 120 anyways in order to unlock world quests. So prioritize getting at least friendly reputation with each of the 3 leveling zone reps. So for Alliance, that's Storm's Wake, Order of Embers, and Proudmoore Admiralty, and for Horde, that's the Zandalari Empire, Talangee's Expedition, and the Voldenai. My last tip, which is just something that I found myself wondering about pretty early on while leveling on beta, is the location of the portals between Borealis and Stormwind, and Atal Dazaralor, and Orgrimmar. Here is the Borealis portal room. If you are in the Trade Winds Market, you want to go to the fountain and then kind of walk towards the boat, turn right, it'll be kind of underneath in this room right here. That is the portal room, and then on the Stormwind side, your portal is in the Mage Tower. For Horde, your portal room is inside the temple, so you're at the Great Seal, you walk right in up to the big orange spinny thing, which I assume is the Great Seal, take a left and you are in the portal room, and then from Orgrimmar you just go to the Cleft of Shadows and you find your portal out of like all of the portals going on there. How does the Cleft of Shadows have more portals than the Mage Tower? I'll never know. The BfA faction cities are both big and winding and filled with layers and rooms and stuff, and it does take a little while to find your way around, so that's the first thing that I would recommend memorizing. Fresh leveling is going to be so much fun, I can't wait, and while this is a leveling tips video, don't stress out too much about doing everything as fast as humanly possible. We're gonna be leveling for like a week, and we're gonna be 120 for like 2 years. You have time, it's okay. If you don't want to do everything optimally, you don't have to, and if you do, then have fun. There's no way to enjoy BfA wrong, and there is plenty of time, so stay hydrated, eat healthy snacks, call your mom on her birthday, get enough sleep, and have fun. I want to give a big thank you to Wowhead for sponsoring this video. You can check out their BfA Leveling guide linked in the description, and it's a great resource for any time that you're stuck on anything but questing in particular. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye!